Hello everybody, welcome to the Thursday edition of Video Clips, and I want to talk about weight loss today. I mean, everybody talks about weight loss in January. I have a little bit different angle I want to approach it from, but I'll just start by saying I know it's difficult. Weight loss is difficult, changing any habit is difficult, and it's hard to form new eating habits after years, sometimes decades, of not so good ones. It's hard to maintain those habits, especially when most of the people we know are not on the same page, and it can be really difficult to stick with your plans if you're not getting the types of results that you want. I get emails regularly from people who are eating a plant-based diet and exercising, but the weight isn't coming off. They're frustrated, they don't know what to do. So I'm just going to give you some guidelines, some of the things that I talk about with people who are having trouble with this. And here's guideline number 1. Get honest with yourself. Many people are eating a low-fat plant-based diet, sort of, kind of, not really. Often the problem is too many exceptions, too many treats, too much fat. In other words, you're just not compliant enough. Now, one thing I recommend is what's called contemporaneous journaling. In other words, writing things down as you eat them and consume them so that the record is accurate rather than trying to think back, gosh, what did I eat last Friday? I mean, maybe I could remember it sort of kind of, but probably not very accurately. So contemporaneous journaling and then taking a look and saying, what am I doing here? Am I eating too many treats? Is the diet too high in fat? If the weight isn't coming off, looking at compliance is the place to start because you should lose 2 to 3 pounds a week if you're doing this right. Now the next thing, make sure you're eating enough and often enough. This particularly is an issue for what I call chronic dieters who've been taught to starve themselves and portion control and all that sort of thing. Now, calorie reduction happens naturally when you adopt a wellness forum style diet because the fat and calorie consumption goes down and the fiber consumption goes up. But if you restrict calories too much, going deliberately beyond the effect of a plant-based diet, what happens is the body compensates by slowing down its metabolic rate, making weight loss very, very difficult. And this is an adaptation that humans developed over the years in order to survive when food was often scarce. And it was. I mean, if spring came late, back when we were cave dwellers, we might not have adequate amounts of food for a period of time. So I recommend 5 to 6 meals a day, and make sure that they're meals. An apple has 80 calories. An apple's not a meal. 2 carrot sticks, not a meal. 1 rice cake, not a meal. Don't even think about snacks. Think about 5 to 6 actual meals per day. And I see sometimes written in food journals 40 calories worth of something, and people call that a meal. Not so. All right, let's get to the part everybody knows is coming, exercise. Almost everybody will plateau with weight loss unless they really kick the exercise in. And you have to pay attention to 3 issues. I mean, this isn't just moving around 6 times a week, whatever that means. You have to pay attention to frequency, 5 to 6 days a week. Duration, 45 to 60 minutes in your target heart zone. And intensity. Now, I'm tired of discussing the time issue. I don't have time to exercise, so I'm not even going to go there. I find that people do find time to do what they want to do, and I've got 50 reasons not to do it every day too because I'm crazy busy, but if it's important, you'll do it. But the intensity issue is maybe just as important. Anything you do, running, biking, lifting, becomes less effective if you do the same thing week after week. The law of diminishing return sets in when you do the same thing in the same way again and again and again. The body needs unfamiliar exercise and stimulation and progressively more difficult exercise in order to get stronger, leaner, and more fit. If you're running, change your route to include hills. Do sprints interspersed with running and jogging. Hire a trainer to change up your weight training routine. If you can't afford one regularly, see one periodically, or work with our virtual trainer, Chris Dorka, who can work with you any place in the country. Address the emotional issues. You know, people have a lot of reasons for eating, and unfortunately, many of them have nothing to do with hunger and the need for fuel. If you're an emotional eater and you know it, go to a cognitive behavioral therapist or participate in one of our weight loss programs, which is designed to address the reasons other than hunger and the need for fuel that people tend to eat. And then stop making excuses and follow the plan. There are exceptions, but most of the time when people tell me they're not losing weight, they're not following directions. They eat 4 meals instead of 6. They're not eating enough food. They're not exercising often enough or doing enough intensity of exercise. Now, in addition to the fact that I just get tired of listening to the excuses, and they range from, I'm not hungry 5 times a day, and I can't exercise, and Dr. Tam, you don't understand. Well, I actually do understand. I'm busy too, and when I fit it in. But there's no benefit here's maybe the biggest take-home point is there's no benefit in insisting that you want to do something and then not doing it. So one last thought I'll add to this. There's only one more thing more difficult than being overweight, and that's spending your whole life trying not to be. By starting and stopping and doing half instead of all the things you're supposed to do, and losing 5 pounds and gaining it back and all that sort of thing, you sentence yourself to experiencing the first 90 days of weight loss again and again and again. One of the most inspirational talks I ever heard was delivered by a sales trainer who said that things only get better when people really reach a point where they're ready to turn their lives around, and it usually starts with getting sick and tired of the status quo. It starts when people say to themselves, I'm sick of myself, I'm sick of the way things are, I can't take it this way anymore, and I'm ready for change. It's time to turn my life around. So let's make 2014 the year you turn your life around from a health and weight perspective. We're here to help you, but ultimately, you have to do the work. Well, that's all for now and all for this week. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you again next week on Tuesday.